Have you ever tried to become better, but something inside you pulled you back? You set the alarm, made the plan, maybe bought the journal, wrote the goals down, started the thing, and for a few days, it actually felt different, like something real had shifted. Then it faded, quietly, almost without you noticing. You missed a day, then two, and before long, you were exactly where you started, like an invisible force had been resetting you the whole time. Size. Most people call that laziness, or weak willpower, or not wanting it badly enough. But none of those explanations are accurate. What's actually happening goes much deeper than motivation, and it starts with something the brain is doing to you. Not because you're broken, but because it's working exactly as designed. 1. The wrong diagnosis. The entire self-improvement industry is built on a quiet misunderstanding. It treats change like an information problem, like the right system, the right habit tracker, the right mindset framework is all that's standing between you and the person you're trying to be. But you already know what to do. Move your body, sleep properly, stop numbing out, stop avoiding the conversation that's been sitting there for months, stop doing the thing you already know is costing you something. The knowledge has never been missing. So why doesn't knowing translate into doing? Because your brain doesn't experience change as improvement. It experiences it as instability. And to the oldest, most automatic parts of your nervous system, instability and danger feel almost identical. That's the gap no productivity video will close, not because motivation is worthless, but because something far more primitive is running the deeper system. 2. The prediction machine. Neuroscientists describe the brain as a prediction engine. It isn't experiencing the world in real time. It's running a model, a constantly updated map of who you are, how things work, and what's supposed to happen next. When reality matches the model, the brain moves through it without friction, smooth, effortless. When something doesn't match, the brain flags it, investigates, and sometimes rejects it entirely. Here's what most people miss. You are part of that model. Not just the world outside you, but your identity, your patterns, the kind of person you've been for long enough that you stopped questioning it, your behavioral baseline, your sense of what's normal for someone like you. And the brain protects that self-model, the same way it protects every other prediction it's ever built. This is why someone can know clearly, rationally, that a habit is destroying them, that a relationship is wrong, that a job is draining years they won't get back, and still not change. Because familiar pain fits the model, and the model is what the brain has agreed to defend. 3. The identity lock. Let's make this concrete. Someone has always seen themselves as not athletic, not that type. They start working out, and week 1 goes well. Week 2 is harder. By week 3, they've missed enough days that the internal story quietly begins. I knew this wasn't really me. That's not weakness. That's a specific psychological mechanism with a name. Leon Festinger, the psychologist who developed cognitive dissonance theory, showed that when your actions conflict with your self-image, the brain feels genuine discomfort, a dissonance it needs to resolve. And it almost always takes the fastest route, not by updating who you are, but by pulling your behavior back to match who you already believe yourself to be. More willpower doesn't break that loop, because willpower is competing directly against identity, and identity wins nearly every time. The shift has to happen at the level of the story first, what kind of person you are. Behavior is almost always downstream from that belief. Change the belief, even slightly, even incrementally, and the behavior starts to follow without nearly as much fight. 4. The emotional thermostat. There's a concept in psychology sometimes called emotional homeostasis. Your emotional life, like your internal body temperature, has a set point, a range the nervous system constantly tries to return to. Push above that range with real momentum, with a genuine win, with pride in yourself that you actually earned, and the brain doesn't simply celebrate, it recalibrates. This is why people who finally reach something they worked for sometimes feel strangely flat or anxious or find subtle ways to dismantle what they built before they've even fully acknowledged it. It isn't ingratitude. It's the thermostat doing exactly what it was built to do. And here's the version of this that's harder to sit with. The people around you have thermostats too. When you start rising, when you start becoming someone slightly different from who you've been, you can make people calibrated to the old version of you feel an unease they can't fully name. They won't always mean to pull you back, but they will. Not out of cruelty, out of their own equilibrium. 5. What actually rewires the brain? So where does this leave you? Not pushing harder through raw resistance, not white-knuckling your way to consistency every single day. That approach has a ceiling, and most people have already hit it. What actually shifts the brain isn't behavior change first. It's identity change first. Research on what's called implementation intentions shows that linking a new behavior to an identity rather than to a goal changes how the brain classifies the action. Instead of flagging it as something foreign being forced, the brain starts to file it under. This is just what someone like me does. Small proof points, repeated, compounding. The model updates. And once it does, it starts defending the new version with the same energy it once used to defend the old one. The resistance doesn't disappear overnight, but it starts working for you instead of against you. Because you're no longer fighting the brain, you're finally working with it. Here's the summary of what's actually happening beneath the surface. Your brain resists growth not because you're broken, but because it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Protect the known, defend the familiar, stabilize the self you've been long enough to believe is permanent. It doesn't know yet that the new version of you is just as safe, maybe safer. Most people try to change what they do while staying exactly who they are on the inside. They hit a wall. They wonder why nothing ever sticks long enough to mean something. The ones who actually shift quietly, durably, without constant effort, they let the identity move first. Not through grand declarations, through small, repeated evidence that tells the brain, this is who I am now. And the behavior follows, almost without resistance, because it finally fits the model. You were never the problem. The model just hadn't been updated yet. If this kind of psychology, the hidden mechanics behind why we do what we do, if that's the layer you want to keep going deeper on, subscribe. That's what this channel is for. Because the most important things about human behavior are almost never the ones people talk about.